Hello, happy thinkers. It's Melissa again. Give me 1 second. Trying to get my lighting straight here and I'm experimenting. But anyways, welcome to my channel and I'm glad you could all join me this evening. My name is Melissa and I'm creator of Think Me First. So again, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about the anxiety, and I have 9 tips that you can use to help maybe relieve some of this anxiety. After watching this video, you're going to have a better understanding as to what anxiety is. And then some of the types of disorders that people may have, as well as some of the triggers and the signs and symptoms that you may be experiencing, so we can better understand ourselves and know how to cope with these anxiety disorders, because it's very, very common in our world today, given everything around us, that a lot of people have some sort of anxiety. You may not have been diagnosed with a disorder or anything, but we all go through some sort of anxiety to a degree at some time or other in our lives with traumatic events or things of that nature. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get started, again, let me welcome you. My name is Melissa, and I am the creator of Think Me First and Rock Your Vibe Apparel. And you can find all my information below under the video. And it'll just let you know we have a blog, we have a Facebook group, we have this YouTube channel, I'm on Pinterest. And then there's a free course below if you want to try that out. It's about being your best self. So there's a bunch of goodies below this video. But if you could do a couple of things for me, if you can give me a thumbs up if you like this video, that would be great. That drives our algorithms up so that then YouTube will promote our channel to other people so that we can, share our information with other people. And then if you can hit this subscribe bar below, do that, and then hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time we do upload a video, which is every Wednesday at 7 p.m.-ish. I put in the ish because we do shoot everything live raw. I make mistakes, but I want you to all realize that we all do. So I like to shoot live and raw for that reason. But without further ado, let's get started with WTF, also known as Wednesday Thought Forum. And we're shooting episode 79, I believe. So yeah, we're getting up there to 100. We're not far. But let's start off with, again, we're going to be talking about anxiety, and I have 9 tips. Actually, I'll probably throw in a few more when I think about how you can help maybe lessen the anxiety, or just, kind of maybe deal with the signs and symptoms, because it's either there or it's not. And it's all about how we go about, trying to recognize it and then cope with it. So what exactly is anxiety? I mean, it can be frustration, stress, apprehension, emotions, fear. Fear is a big one. That's what a lot of people, that's why we worry a lot. Tension, despair, nervousness. So depression, there's just all kinds of different things that could trigger anxiety. So, as I stated before, anxiety is, it's a very normal part of life. Some people have to deal with it more than others. So, let me put a disclaimer out there first too. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not anyone who can tell you or prescribe anything. Okay. I'm just simply sharing with you things that I went through when I suffered a lot of anxiety. If you all know my story, I was, for many, many years, I went through mental and verbal abuse. And when I say many, many years, probably like 17. So I suffered a lot of this stuff. So that's why I'm sharing it with you. But I just, again, put the disclaimer out there. I'm not a doctor or anything by any means. I'm just sharing my information. But a lot of people have different types of anxiety and at different levels. Okay. So everyone's different. So if you have anxiety or suffer from that, don't compare yourself to someone else, because you never, again, know someone else's situation, what support systems they have versus what you don't have, and things of that nature. So first, number one, do not compare yourself to anyone else, okay? You can listen to what other people share with you to see if that works for you, but it's up to you to find out what works for you. Some people are better at coping with certain stresses versus others. So be cognizant of that as well. So anxiety itself is just a feeling of fear or apprehension on about what's to come or the unknown, and that's one of the biggest causes. This could be like the first day of high school, or where you're completely new, or maybe it's your first day of college and you don't know where you're supposed to go. I remember my first day of college. It was horrible because high school was so easy for me that I never had taken a note in high school. And when I got to my first day of college, first class, I remember, ironically, it was Psych 101. And everyone's whipping out their notebooks and their pencils. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? And I thought about it. I said, I didn't even know how to take notes. So I had to learn that my first day of college. And it freaked me out. But so anyways, or at work, you may have a big presentation or something. So whatever that it is that's causing anxiety, it's going to make us nervous and fearful because of the unknown. All right. So, one who suffers from anxiety, their minds are so cluttered with obsessive thoughts. They are likely to act maybe a little more irrational because they can't focus. There's just a barrage of just thoughts going through your mind, and you can't stop them. It's really hard to explain unless you have suffered that. But I mean, I think to a degree, some people have. But it gets to the point where it's hard for you to think or even turn those thoughts off. So that's kind of what anxiety is to a degree. Again, each person, it hits them differently. But that is anxiety. It's one of the most persuasive mental health issues out there today. Again, the trauma, the fears, the worries, they all cause anxiousness to some degree. And then sometimes they lead into mental health issues and then personality types, and then sometimes substance abuse. So that's, what we want to try to prevent. Feelings of anxiety are extreme. Sometimes they can last for a few minutes. Others, they may last for 6 months. And then some others you may just carry with you throughout your whole life. So again, don't compare yourself to any one person because everything's going to be different. You may be labeled the same way as one person with a disorder. You may have the same disorder as them, but it doesn't mean that you guys are exactly the same. So again, don't compare yourself. And I use the word label, and I shouldn't have, because I'm not big on labels. If someone is labeled with autism or diabetes or something like that, I don't like to say that. I would rather say, they have diabetes or they have autism, because sometimes when you put labels on, then people look at that and it kind of defines the person sometimes through someone else's eyes, or even maybe that person that has that illness, may define themselves as that because that's all they hear. So I try not to use labels so much. So let's get into a few types of anxiety and disorders, just so you're familiar with them, because there's quite a few different ones out there that you may not have heard of. There's what they call a GAD or GAD, and that's just a generalized anxiety disorder. There's also a panic disorder, social anxiety disorders, and then there's phobias, and OCD or obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder. That's what I had with my the abuse that I went through. Over it now, but it took a lot of work. And then there's some major depressive disorder, persistent depressive disorder. So there's a lot of different what do I want to say, diagnosis out there. Again, I want to refrain from using labels. So there's a lot of those types of disorders out there. So those are just some for you just to be aware of that people may be experiencing. Because again, if you haven't been through it, it's really hard to understand how it affects someone. But so next I want to share with you maybe some signs and symptoms of anxiety. And again, anyone can have anxiety, and it doesn't mean that you have a mental disorder or a mental ailment or anything. It just simply means that you are anxious and you're going through an anxious time at that time. Now, if it's persistent and you think you need medical help, that's when you go for that, okay? But here are just a few common anxiety signs and symptoms, but they're not limited to these. And again, it's just nice to recognize them so that if you feel these, then you know maybe an anxious episode is coming on or something. So it's nice to be aware of what the signs and symptoms are that you're having because of anxiety, and then what the triggers are, and we're going to talk about that too. But it's just nice to know them. And if you journal, then write down what you were feeling or some of the signs and symptoms, so that maybe you can figure out what's causing these anxious episodes. But some of the signs and symptoms are like palpitations. You could be sweating a lot during these episodes, trembling, shortness of breath, a sense of choking, chest pain sometimes. Some people will get nauseated. Some will have a sense of dizziness, being detached from the world, not able to think just because you're so inundated with thoughts. It could be simply the opposite too. Your mind just may go blank. You may have this irrational fear of dying, some numbness and tingling, chills, hot flashes. Again, these are just a few of the signs and symptoms. There could be more. But just be aware of what they are so that you can understand and know that, okay, if I'm doing this, I could be having an anxiety attack or something. All right. Now, here are some triggers that could lead to anxiety. And again, these are something that you might want to journal when they're happening. That way you might be able to pinpoint when you're going to have an anxiety at a certain time if you have them a lot. Trauma is a big one. Some maybe children who endured abuse or trauma or even witnessed a traumatic event in their childhood could be at risk. And then some adults too, with that maybe experienced or witnessed a traumatic event, can develop disorders or just anxiety from that. Sometimes another trigger could be like due to an illness. Maybe you have a serious illness such as cancer or something, and that can cause anxiety and significant worry about treatment and possibly your future. Another trigger is just general stress buildup. If you worry a lot about anything and everything, just that stress buildup can cause trigger an anxiety attack. Even smaller situations in your life, if you have a lot of them, they will compound and could be a trigger for anxiety, whether it's like financial issues, relationships, work, stress, taking exams, divorce, there's all kinds of different things that can impact our stress levels and anxiety levels. Sometimes personalities can be a trigger. People with certain personality types are more prone to anxiety than others. And then on the flip side, there might be personality traits of a person that could trigger your anxiety within yourself. Another trigger could be just other mental health disorders, such as depression, or if you have a certain anxiety disorder, you may have a couple anxiety disorders. Sometimes having blood relatives with anxiety disorders that can be hereditary. And then drug and alcohol or misuse are certainly triggers to anxiety, and they can worsen anxiety as well. So those are just several triggers. Again, there could be many more. These are just some of the things that I know. And when I researched, when I was going through anxiety and stuff, this is just some of the information that I picked up on. So now that we know the signs and symptoms, the different types of disorders, and then, the triggers, again, some people may journal about them just so that they can try and learn, what's causing the problem. But now I'm going to give you 9 ways that you can cope with this anxiety. And so I hope these, again, help. You can use 1, 2, all of them. Maybe none of them work for you, but they give you ideas on how you can modify them for something that does help you, okay? So the first one I thought of was staying active. The reason I say this is because when you're active and you find joy in something, maybe it's taking a walk in the park. Some people find joy in going to the gym. Just when you're staying active, you feel good about yourself, right? And sometimes you can use this as a practice of self-love. So try to engage in things that are like social interactions, with caring relationships, so that you can just stay active and do things that you enjoy. Because when you enjoy these things, you're not going to be as stressed, right? The other thing about staying active is you release a lot of negative energy when you're active, like when you go to the gym or you take a walk. You can release a lot of that negative energy that you have going on. So that in itself will help as well. And then the next one is, and I say this lightly, just breathe. Um, I don't say it jokingly, but I mean, seriously, just take some deep breaths to try and calm yourself, your body, your mind. When you feel this anxiety starting, and you're starting to feel the signs and symptoms and maybe a couple of triggers, try and regain control by simply just sitting down and taking a few deep breaths. Close your eyes. Just take a few deep breaths and focus on your breath, because sometimes this can relieve some of the stuff that you have going on in your head that's just making everything out of focus, where you can't concentrate or think. When I say just breathe, it's good to meditate. That's a good thing to do. And that's just focusing on your breathing. Is a lot of meditation is what that is. And again, it just kind of clears the mind, it puts you in the present. So if you can practice a simple breathing technique, just simply by maybe just getting in a comfortable seated position and close your eyes, and then just slowly inhale through your nose and then exhale through your nose. Again, just deep breathing and just focus on your breath. And a lot of times just that will help clear your mind. Not all the time, because a lot of people are so anxious that they can't even, sometimes this might drive them nuts just trying to hear their own breath or something. So again, we have other ways here you can do that, but that's a big one, is meditating. Okay. Just learning to be mindful and help use this skill to help lessen your anxiety. The next one is very important for anxiety, and that's sleep, 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 and repeat. Okay. Sleep is valuable for anything. When you're talking about focus and clarity and all that, sleep is good for that. Then you put anxiousness on top of that, and just, spinning thoughts. Sleep is very important for that, because that gives you a time for your brain to actually rest. Again, sleeping is very, very good for anxious people, because when you're anxious, not only is your mind just rolling everywhere, but your whole body's feeling it too. And it really wears you down. So, sleep is very important to give your body and your mind a rest so that it can refresh itself. And if you need more insight on, the importance of sleep to your health and well-being, I do have an article on that on thinkmefirst.com. And then there's also a video on that as well. So the next one is, I already kind of touched on this, is kind of journaling or documenting your thoughts, because some people, first of all, find comfort in writing their thoughts down when there's an anxiety attack. I call it a brain dump. And basically you just take a pad of paper and you just start writing and writing. Doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. You just write whatever's on your mind, and you do that until you calm down. And, so you're writing all the thoughts that are rushing through your head in this journal, and it's very relaxing at the end, because you're done after that. You're so focused on this writing that you actually lose focus on the actual thoughts that you had spinning in your head. So writing is a really good thing. Again, I call this a brain dump. You just write and write and write until you feel more calm and focused. And again, it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. It's just a brain dump. That's all you're doing. And then the second part of that is just journaling, again, to record your signs and symptoms and triggers so that you're more aware of them. Actually, the next way to help with this is trying to attempt to understand what is causing your anxiety. And this, again, is the importance of maybe journaling, because you may have an anxiety attack today and then maybe not another one until next week, and then maybe one a month from that. And then maybe they start to build up. But at least you have a documentation of what happened, so that if you do need to get medication or seek some kind of treatment, you have that documentation there to share with your physician. Or if you're trying to do it yourself, then you have that idea. Here's the thought. Have you tried aromatherapy? Some people will use incense or candle scents like chamomile, lavender, sandalwood. Those can be very soothing if you have anxiety. So some people will do aromatherapy. I'm a big candle fan, so I do like that as far as aromatherapy. There's also audio therapy. Some people, and this is one I just remembered, so you're getting a bonus. You're getting 10. But music therapy is good. You can go to YouTube and just put in different types of music for anxiety or whatever. And sometimes a lot of those frequencies will help calm your anxiety and lessen your stress. So music therapy is good for de-stressing. Another one is to get help early. If you feel that this is going to be an ongoing thing or you need to seek medical help, please do so, because you don't want this to get out of hand, and you don't want it to be to the point where it's very hard to control. If you attack it on, no pun intended, if you attack it on the front side, then then things are going to get better, and you're still aware, and you can tackle it from the front side, and hopefully it doesn't turn into a disorder or something. So therapy is a good place to start, and just checking in with your physician. So, another thing is to deal with your anxiety. I know that sounds really silly as a way to help yourself, but it really does help for certain things. Maybe I'm going to use phobias as an example, because, people have phobias of spiders and snakes and heights and all kinds of different things, ghosts or whatever. I'm afraid of heights. So what do? I go out and I rappel off cliffs, and I we'll do some parasailing, and I'll climb these mountains. And so that helps with anxiety sometimes, just tackling it head on. Fear, no fear, or you may have fear, but you still do it. So when you have phobias, then maybe, that's a way to do it, and just, baby step it little at a time. I like snakes, but I don't like them in bulk. So, but there's all kinds of different ways to do that. So sometimes just facing those fears will help us get past the anxiety. All right. I have an article on vulnerability and courage, and that might help you assist with, coping with if you have a phobia or something. Again, it's on my thinkmefirst.com, and then there's a video here as well. Another one is to avoid alcohol and drug use. I say this because a lot of people will maybe use drugs or turn to drugs or alcohol to lessen the pain. That happens a lot, whether it's anxiety or whatever. A lot of people will do that. And actually, alcohol and drug, all they do is they kind of worsen anxiety, because if you weren't focused with anxiety and then you enhance that lack of focusness and irrationality with drugs and alcohol, it's not going to get any better. And then a lot of times too, if you use it to help because you think it's helping, because it's relaxing or whatever, it could cause some sort of addiction. So you just got to be really careful with that. You don't want that to happen, and you don't want to make irrational decisions with being anxious, and then you put the drugs and alcohol on top of that. All right, so just be careful with that. Again, anxiety is such a common issue to all of us, and it's actually increasing at an alarming rate. And so again, if you can just recognize it on the front side, you'll be better off to deal with it, or at least to know to get help with it. and how to conquer and cope with it if you do have anxiety. Because again, you're not alone. A lot of people have it. And again, just because you have anxiety doesn't mean you have a disorder or anything either, but it can lead to a lot of disorders. So that's why it's easy. It's better to recognize it on the front side. All right. So following these coping mechanisms, hopefully that will lead to your success in coping with the anxiety issues that you do have. But I gave a lot to you, almost a half hour, sorry. But anyways, if you can think of anything else to help the viewers, please drop a line in the comment of if you have anxiety and maybe ways that you help yourself or that can help others. Because again, we're here to share our own experiences and advice with others. So if you have anything that you feel may help them, please drop it in the comments below so that we can share our knowledge. Also, if you have a topic that you want to talk about, drop it in the comments below as well, and we'll make it a WTF episode. Until then, everyone, I thank you for all your support. When you comment, when you watch a video through its entirety, or the longer you watch a video, that supports our channel and gets us out there to more people. So when you comment, when you give a thumbs up, that gives us, it boosts our algorithm to share our information with more people. So I am so thankful for the support that we got here and the people that participate here and on my Facebook and, the blog, everywhere we are. So again, I appreciate all of you. I love you guys very much. Don't forget that you are worthy. All right. Everyone is. My last note to you is think me first. It's not selfish, but it is necessary. Everyone have a good evening. Thank you.